Welcome to Rise and Shine, your daily business tech boost with me, Charly Leetham. If you're a small business owner looking to simplify technology and get real, actionable advice from someone with 35 years of IT experience, you're in the right place. Every episode, I'll dive into tools and systems like email, CRM, marketing and tracking, and I'll break them down into bite-sized tips you can use straight away. Your time is valuable, so let's get straight to the point. It's time to work smarter, not harder. Rise and Shine. It's your daily dose of business tech inspiration with me, Charly Leetham. Episode number 592. I'm following on from that series I've been doing about how the internet works. I want to actually touch on something that is kind of close to my heart, and I hope it helps you guys out. It's what happens when you notice your website is down or someone tells you your website is down. Why does it happen? What could be the causes of it? How can you address it? What are the things that you can do to try and mitigate at least the amount of time the site is down before you get into other things? Okay, so let's just have a look at it. I tend to get phone calls, or I tend to get tickets or SMSs. Let's just say they're service desk tickets. It's down. My site's down. Help, my site is down. That's what I get. So I have to go out, I have to go and check the site. Now, one of two things will happen at that point. It will be down and I'll go, okay, we have a real problem. Or I'll get a response and I'm like, okay, so it's down for the person who has reported it. There is a couple of things that I have to think about then. It's like, well, what does down actually mean to the person who is reporting it? And I have to then go back and ask some more questions. Say, hey, listen, I'm not saying that we've got a problem. What do you mean it's down? What are you seeing? What are you doing? So I'm going to start this entire thing with when you lodge a request for help, when you contact someone and say something is wrong, try to be as specific as possible. By doing that, and hopefully I can give you some hints here as to how you can be as specific as possible. But by doing that, you're going to speed up the troubleshooting process, because you're not going to get someone like me who you've contacted and said it's down, help, come back to you and say, I'm not seeing a problem. What are you seeing? Explain to me what's happening. What are you doing? Are you in Outlook? Is it your email? Can you just not send email from your site? What is it? Because there are so many things that go together to form this complex system called a website, and an even more complex system called the internet, that knowing where to start looking is 80% of the thing that we as troubleshooters need to do. So when you get someone come back to you and say, it's working, just understand that it might be for them. So let's have a talk about why it might be happening and explain why it might work for me and it might not work for you, or it might work for someone else and it might not work for you. First of all, it could be your server or your hosting has failed. Now, if that's the case, it's going to be for everyone. Unless there's an unless. I should really think about these things. If you are running something like Cloudflare and you've got their always up service enabled, if your server or your host goes down and you're running something like a CDN with caching, your site can still be served, or the most recent copy of your site can still be served out of your CDN, because it has a copy of it. So when someone comes to the site and says, give me the site, the CDN says, server's not working, hosting's not working, hey, we've got a copy, here's a copy. Have a look at the copy of it while we try to get this working in the background. So there might be one issue. You might actually go to try and log into your site and can't get in, and it's because your hosting's down, but everyone else is being able to access the site at least for a little while. It could be network or data center issues. It might just be that the trunk into the hosting provider has failed. It might be that a trunk from a specific segment of the network is down. If it's segmented like that, then people who come in on this trunk normally won't be getting access, but you can be. So it's important to understand, well, yeah, I'm trying to connect, I'm not getting it. Here's a screenshot of what I'm seeing. Here's the error message that I'm getting. Copy paste, use the Windows snipping tool. If you don't have a screenshots tool, use Windows snipping tool. Send it through to us. Try and give us as many errors as you've got available that we can actually get into and have a look. It might be DNS issues. Now, I've done a lot on DNS in the last couple of days on this podcast. It might be that you've moved the server and it hasn't propagated yet. It might be that you've moved, that a record has expired and it needs to be reset. One of the things that I've seen is you have your server on this host. Whatever happens in the back end, the server fails. The hardware the server is on fails, and your hosting provider says, look, we're going to move it to a new server, and it gets a new IP address. They've sent you an email. They've sent you all the information you need, but you haven't seen it yet. And the service goes down because your DNS is pointing to the wrong IP address for the server, and you've got to update it. Pretty quick fix, but you've got to be on top of it. You've got to see those things coming in. It could also be a security event. It could be something, I'm not going to say as simple as, because it's never simple, but it might be that you've got a lot of bots attacking the site or trying to attach to the site or trying to go through the site, and it's actually causing your site to use so many resources on the host, on the server, that it starts to fail. Now, we would call that, as a very broad brush approach, a DDoS attack, a distributed denial of service attack. What that means is that you've just got so much traffic coming into the site, it's making the site fail because it's using too many resources on the site. It's clogging up all the bandwidth you've got coming in. You've got this whole sort of pipeline of problems that just add to each other. We would call that a DDoS attack. Even if it isn't a malicious or a deliberate one, that's what it would be called. It might be that firewall rules have changed, have updated, and are now starting to hit a specific pattern of traffic that they haven't done previously. That is probably more common than you realize. I've spoken before about security and about making sure you maintain all of your, in inverted commas, signature files, the things that look like, the things that give you templates for attacks that your security system will look at and go, yep, that matches that template, we're going to block it. They update regularly, and they often update in the background, and it is not uncommon for me to have a phone call from someone or a contact from someone saying, I can't save this post anymore, or I can't edit this post, or I can't log into my site. And when I've gone and looked at it, the rule set's updated, it's too tight, it's not specific enough, one of the two, and it's catching all of this other stuff, the false positives we call them. And I've got to go and tweak the firewall rule or turn that firewall rule off until we can tweak it down and refine it to suit the way my customer base works or our customer base works. And then that also flows on to, because you hit it so many times, you might actually end up being blacklisted, and we have to get you off of the blacklist so that you can actually do what you need to do. So there's some reasons why it might happen. The other reasons that I don't have listed here, it might be that your ISP hasn't got the DNS updates from the network and you're running off of old DNS records. Might be your ISP is having problems accessing the whole of the internet. Now, it's not, I know these might sound far-fetched. They're actually not as strange as you sound. I keep saying it's a complex system. We've got lots of things that interconnect, and all it takes is for one thing in this chain to go wrong, and the impact sort of blossoms on out back to us. So it might be that your ISP is having problems. It might be that an upstream node on your upstream provider from your ISP is having problems. We've spoken about DNS propagation. I did mention the other day about caching. It could simply be that a cache somewhere hasn't refreshed, and we've got to go in and get it to force it to refresh, or we've got to route around it until that refreshes. And again, I've mentioned regional outages. It could just be something that affects a particular region. It might be that it's okay for me here in Cooma, New South Wales, but for someone up in Queensland, they're having problems. And that's because the way the network is routing, it's affecting Queensland customers. It's not affecting New South Wales or South New South Wales customers. Okay, so there's a number of things that it could be. There's a number of reasons why it might be, and it's why specificity actually matters at this point. Giving me, or giving people like myself who help you troubleshoot these problems, who help you go through these problems, as much information as possible up front will help you get through the system faster. Now, I've said that, and I do have to also caution that if you go to some providers, they do have their scripts, they do have their process they need to go through. You might give them all of this information and they come back with a canned email. Try to give them a little bit of grace. Certainly go back and say, hey, listen, I've provided all of this information. Why don't you have a read of it before you send me your next response? I don't want to get another canned email. I'm notorious for putting at the top of my service requests into providers, please read this before you respond. Make sure you go through everything before you send me a canned response, because I might have already done what you're about to ask me to do. Mostly because I've worked in the industry, mostly because I've done this for most of my life, so I know the sorts of things we need to get. And when they come back to me, I want them to be asking me for the next thing, not for something I haven't provided, not necessarily all the things that I've already provided. So do try to have a little bit of grace if someone comes back to you and says, hey, listen, can I have this information? You've already provided it. It might be that they've just missed it, or it might be that, unfortunately, that's their process. They have to have that request go out before they can do the next step. Don't blame the messenger, blame the system for that one. Alrighty. So what can you do when things go down? What can you do if you're trying to access your web server? Let's use that as an example. Trying to access your web server, you're getting an error saying the site is unreachable. It says, can't find it. White screen, whatever it is. It's got that horrible little message in the front on the browser window saying it can't access the site. So what do you do? Well, a couple of things. You can go to a service like Down4Everyone or JustMe.com. Now, I'm not going to be putting these links into the show notes. YouTube, good on YouTube, keeps hitting me with violations for putting these sorts of links into my notes. So if you want them, I would recommend you come read them over on my blog and get these links off my blog. I'm not going to put them into the show notes, mostly because I don't want to have the strikes against me and lose my channel, because I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. But Down4Everyone or JustMe.com, Pingdom, Pingdom is another one. What you can do there is you can go into the site. It'll say enter the URL that you want to access, and it will send out a request. Now, what that does is that bypasses your ISP. It bypasses the network between you and your server, and it uses their network and their connection to your server. If they can access it and you can't, you've already eliminated your server as the issue. The issue is between the server and you. Sorry, the server is still up. It's a network issue, or it's an ISP issue, or it's a physical computer issue on your part. So that you can start to narrow down where your problems are. You can check your host status page. If your host has got a status page, you can check that. If you've got access to like cPanel and stuff, you can log into your cPanel and see what it's saying. Those are the easy things. Those are the simple things. You can also just send a message out to your hosting provider and say, is there a problem with my server? That's normally a quick one, and they'll say, yeah or no. Or, yeah, look, we've just restarted it. It's fine, but you might want to have a look at the error logs and see what the problem is. Okay. The next one is check your DNS. Check that your domain name is actually still active. Check that it hasn't expired. Out of out of a lot of the requests that I get, I'm going to say about 30% of them are the domain name expired. The domain name expired at midnight last night. You're logging in this morning going, I can't access my site. As soon as a domain name expires, the name service, its registration on the internet is taken down. Nothing can find it. They come back and they say, we can't find this domain name. It's not active. And they don't know where to find it. They don't know how to find the hosting provider. So make sure that your domain name is active. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do that. I am a big fan of MXToolbox SuperTool. Again, I'm not putting this in the show notes. I keep getting strikes for doing that. But MXToolbox.com, click on the SuperTool link at the top, and just do a check on that. Do a who is on the domain. It will tell you what status the domain is in. You can also just log into your domain name provider and see what they're saying. Honestly, look, particularly in Australia, for a lot of providers out of Australia, domain name providers out of Australia, you're going to get email notices at 88 days and 80 days and 70 days and 60 days and 50 days and 40 days and 30 days and 14 days and 7 days and 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. You're going to get a whole heap of emails reminding you that you've got to renew your domain name. That said, it's so easy to miss them, particularly when you're busy delivering your business. So it could just be that your domain name has expired if you need to go in and renew it. I would absolutely recommend, however, to avoid that, put your domain name expiry date into your calendar and set a reminder for 2 weeks out to say, go and renew my domain name. It's easy to avoid. What else could there be? So we've done, it could be, you got to verify it. You've got to check your hosting provider. You've got to check that. Get someone else to check it for you. Oh, yeah. The other thing I like to do, if I'm having problems and I can't get to it from my desktop on a network, I'll pick up my mobile phone. I'll disconnect it from the Wi-Fi network and I'll go to the mobile network and I'll check it from the mobile network. That gives me 2 entry points to my server. Have I been blocked on my Wi-Fi? Is the home network blocked? Have I managed to do something that's got that blacklisted against the server? And can I get to it from my mobile data? If I can get to it from the mobile data, I know that I've got a problem with the home network and I need to go and look at it there. I can give all of this information to someone else to help me troubleshoot it as well. The next thing is escalate fast. Once you've done all of your basic tests, you don't need to go through and spend hours troubleshooting it. They're very, very quick tests. Yes, I've checked my domain name. It's active, or it looks like it's active. I know that my domain name is registered with so-and-so. Here's the who is report. Here's the report that I've got out of MXToolbox for it. My host says that there's no problems. We'll get maybe. I've done a down for everyone or just me and it seems to be down. Okay, you can give me a whole heap of information. You can give your IT support people a whole heap of information to start this process. It's going to put them so much further ahead of the system than if you just come to them and say, it's down. Let's talk about some preventative measures though, because it's all very good and well saying, well, it's down. How do we fix it? Now let's talk about, can we avoid it? Maybe. There's some uptime monitoring tools available, Uptime Robot, Pingdom. I actually run a lot of uptime monitoring through WPMU Dev. There may be a link in my show notes, we'll see. If not, it'll be over on my blog. They sit there and they monitor the sites. And if it goes down, I get an email saying, hey, this has gone down. Some of them you can configure to get SMS alerts and stuff as well. But they monitor to see if it's gone down. If it's gone down, they contact you. That normally puts you ahead of 80% of your customer base. There's still going to be a few that are going to find out before you do. That don't sweat if they do. But you're going to find out whether your site is up or not. Redundancy and failover, backup servers, CDN routing, content delivery network routing, secondary hosting. So backup servers, secondary hosting, all kind of go together. You can do some redundancy in the network. For most small business owners, that's not going to make a lot of sense. It's not going to make a lot of financial sense because of the cost to do it. However, If you're with Cloudflare, do have a look at their Always Up service. I believe it's on the free programs, on the free plans. You can just tick that. You will get a little note at the top of the thing saying we couldn't access the host, but here's their latest server. So they actually, people visiting your site will get some of the site up. They can see it, even if they can't access the host behind it. The other thing you should consider doing is having some status communication with your client base. Not only should you be communicating with your provider saying it's not working, get it fixed, get it fixed, get it fixed. And I totally get the stress that goes along with that. But make sure you're letting your customers know if you've got Facebook, I was going to say just Facebook, but if you've got a social media presence, just note out on Facebook, social media, hey, listen, guys, we've noticed that there's a problem with the website. My guys are on it. We'll let you know when it's back up and running. But in the meantime, if you need to contact us, you can contact us through here. You can give us a call. You can send up smoke signals. Yeah, you can make it a bit fun. But you can also be proactive with your own client base. And then when it's up and running, say, hey, listen, here's what I'd prefer. My support team is fantastic and they got us up and running as quickly as they could. We're all good to go. Okay, so let them know. Just keep communicating with your client base if you've noticed there's a problem. Finally, I guess one of the last things you should be considering is making sure that you're monitoring your DNS and your SSL. As I said, I would have in my calendar when my domain name is due for renewal, so I don't forget it. Have reminders come up to say, go and renew your domain name, so I don't forget it. The other thing is with your SSL certificates, if you know you've got a 30-day SSL certificate, most of them will renew automatically, but have a note in your calendar that pops up and says, hey, your SSL certificate's about to expire, make sure it gets renewed. You can absolutely do those things. Okay. So there's several things that you can think about here. I hope that's been helpful. As much as I'd like you to take this on board as to how can you help me help you better, which I absolutely would love to do, you can also fix some of the problems yourselves by going through some very basic checks and making sure it's not you, it's not your network, it's my network. Well, I can't help you fix it if it's your network generally. Normally, you need to contact your ISP. Maybe you need to reboot your router. Maybe you just need to reboot your PC and get reconnected to the internet. It's solved. It's done. You don't have to think about it again. It's all done. It likely won't ever occur. Or if it does occur, it'll be another 12, 18 months before it does occur again. And it will be for a completely different reason this time, not for the reason it did this time. Sorry, it will be for a completely different reason next time. It won't be for the reason it did this time. So I'd love your thoughts, comments, feedback, input. If there's something I've said that you disagree with, if I've said something that's making you ask more questions, I would love to know. If there's something I've said you disagree with, yes, I'd like to know that too. It always helps. Discussion and conversation is a great way of learning and expanding our own knowledge base. So that said, come across to my community, askcharlyleetham.locals.com, and join the conversation there. If you really don't want to do that, come and leave comments wherever you're watching or listening to this video. If this has been really helpful to you, or even marginally helpful, or if you're feeling like it, could you give the video a like? I'd really appreciate that. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you find out when I drop more content. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye. Hey there, thanks so much for tuning in to Rise and Shine, your daily business tech boost. I hope today's episode gave you some actionable insights that will make your business tech work smarter for you. If you found value, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other small business owners who could use a daily boost. For more tips, tools, and resources, visit www.askcharlyleetham.com. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and let's make tech simple together.